Right. So we are good, right?
Yeah, we are.
Oh, thank goodness for that. I thought you were going to do a last minute, stab in the back moment where you reveal you're not over what happened last time and that you're just going to have some sort of, I don't know, some sort of new entity attack me from behind. Hello there. Who is this?
I don't know.
Well, my guess is that it's dressed as a police officer, so maybe it's your new brother-in-law. Clearly you both didn't like that.
The filming Daniel.
I can never get over those two now. Anyway, let's just get to the review. Hey guys, it's Daniel here, and I really do apologise again. Oh my goodness, another hiatus that I had off doing YouTube. It's just that when I did my review for the 3 Toy Story films, I filmed and edited all of that in a week, so I needed a break. I really needed a break. But I'm back, and I'm here to do my long-awaited review of the latest installment in the Toy Story franchise. As, you know, the reviews I did for these movies were building up to this review. I'm sorry this review is a month late, but you know, I'm always late, like a month late with reviews. But better late than never, right? As I review the latest installment in the Toy Story franchise, Toy Story 5. So Toy Story 5 follows the gang as they're still living their wonderful playtime life with Bonnie, with Jessie now leading the toys and Buzz being her second in command. But things start to get a little bit competitive as Bonnie ends up receiving a special package including this very odd looking iPad looking thing called the Lily Pad, where she is looking at games and looking at group chats. Yes, it's become that age of Toy Story where we now have to address the problem of tech, possibly taking away the playtime of toys. And Jessie is a little bit concerned about this operation, about this new change. However, things start to get a little out of hand as the clash between the toys and Lilypad ends up resulting in Jessie and Bullseye getting thrown out of Bonnie's house, and now they're getting separated from the toys and they're trying to get back to Bonnie's house. So Woody comes back and Buzz and Woody now have to try and help Jessie and Bullseye, while Jessie starts to reflect on herself, as well as trying to make sure that Bonnie doesn't become too addicted and lose that childlike energy inside her. So before I talk about what I think of this one, I should probably discuss what I think of the other Toy Story films, which you've seen my reviews that came out last month for them, but I'll just go real fast. The first Toy Story film, classic, and it's a classic amongst many other people, and on a rewatch, I think it's really, really good. The characters are memorable, the voice acting is good, the humour is brilliantly modern, and of course the iconic soundtrack of "You Got a Friend in Me," ba 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 ba. Love those elements. The second one I loved even more. I thought it was a fantastic sequel, and honestly one of the best animated sequels I've seen. I love that they addressed a more moral topic of potential toys being forgotten and feeling that lack of self-worth, only to realise that no matter what is going on, as long as you have your friends around you and you see that right now you're still worth it to your child owner, then you can make the best of the time you have. The characters' adventure is still fantastic, Buzz leads them very well, and the comedy is just at another level of hilariousness. And then Toy Story 3 I thought was almost just as good. It's definitely my second favourite because it was a fantastic conclusion to the original trilogy. It builds up to an emotional incinerator climax, which just one of the most intense parts of any Pixar film. And it all ends on a very satisfying note as you see Andy giving his toys over to Bonnie and playing with them one last time, and it's like, oh, this reflects on people that grew up since 1995 to 2010, watching the Toy Story films as they grow up, and it's now them passing that era to the new generation for them to enjoy. I thought it was an amazing conclusion to Toy Story. And that's when things got a little complicated when they made Toy Story 4. It's pretty much a obligation movie. They just made it because they wanted to do another Toy Story film in the franchise. And after rewatching it last month, I will honestly say it did feel like that. I didn't feel like what was presented in the movie was needed for the franchise. And the kind of mistreatment that Woody was gaining from the other characters felt unearned. And I felt like that Woody was really just being his usual loyal self. To be criticized by other characters, it wasn't worth it. And I felt like that really brought the film down. The other characters were sidelined, and I didn't feel like this film needed to be a Toy Story film. It could have just been a Woody spin-off film reuniting with Bo Peep. I felt like that would have worked to the film's benefits a bit better. So honestly, I'm not exactly the biggest fan of Toy Story 4. Now we have Toy Story 5, which came out 7 years after Toy Story 4, which is when I first reviewed it. It's like it's just been yesterday that movie came out. So I was very interested to see Toy Story 5. I was kind of hesitant because I'm just like, just like Toy Story 4, why do we need more Toy Story movies? But I guess I could kind of get a little interested when they announced that they were bringing tech into this movie, because it's a topic I'm surprised Toy Story didn't talk about like a long time ago. I was very interested when I found out that Jessie was taking more of the spotlight, and I was very interested. The trailer's really good. I love like the cast that has been here for the last 30 years is still going strong. You can tell they love these characters, so them coming back was just a treat. So after seeing Toy Story 5 twice now, I have to say, not as good as the first three, but better than Toy Story 4. I personally thought that this was a very enjoyable and very captivating movie that definitely touched a lot of the nostalgia in me for why I love Toy Story. But it's not the greatest, but I do think that for a movie that does kind of feel like an add-on after another add-on after the conclusion of 3, I thought that this was a very well made and definitely a deserved made film. First off, the animation is still amazing. I mean, honestly, it's hard to expect any potential disappointing animation from Pixar because they always like put their best foot forward when it comes to their animation. I do think, in my personal opinion, this is the one thing that I think Toy Story 4 had over this film, is that the animation style for Toy Story 4 definitely looked like the most evolved animation out of all the Toy Story films, including this one. I felt like that movie definitely had the animation feel like almost a bit more of a realistic kind of. I know it's an animated film, but it looked like the most realistic Toy Story film out of all of them, especially when you see the raindrops falling on them. Like, that looked like just a real toy getting caught in the rain. This film doesn't exactly have that same kind of realisticness, but I think it's close, and I thought that the animation was very well. And I really love the way that they animated like the differences between the toys, like the real life ragdoll toys compared to tech objects, because you can see every tech object without any legs are always like tipping side and side and moving, yet they still have fastness. I love the way that they presented that, and I also love the attention to detail when it comes to the toys not being able to touch lily pad because they're made of plastic, so plastic can't really touch or control anything on the devices, like especially if it's just like a screen device like lily pad. I like their attention to detail there. The voice acting is amazing as well, from the OGs to the new additions. It's mainly like the main nostalgic factor that came out of me was just still hearing these old voice actors over the years still coming back and reprising the roles, and despite the fact that you can hear that they are getting up in the age a bit, that's not a problem with, because like everybody can get older, but they still sound like they're having as much energy and fun playing these characters, like especially Tom Hanks and Tim Allen. Like, 30 years since the beginning, and they still put a lot of effort and care into their performances as Woody and Buzz. And Joanne Cusack is also amazing as Jessie. I love her voice acting, and same with Tom Hanks as while you can tell that she is up in the age, I think that works to the character's benefit because the character has been through a lot over these past few movies. So seeing where she is now and hearing how she's speaking about where she is now, definitely you can tell that she has evolved over the years. Now, let's bring up the elephant in the room. Don Rickles, the voice of Potato Head in the first 3 Toy Story films, and then used unused voice for the 4th one, because Don Rickles passed away a while ago. So they got, I don't know who it is, that they got, I can't remember the name of the guy, I think it was like, Eric, I could be wrong. It's the actor that voices a lot of the Looney Tunes in like the Looney Tunes cartoons recently. And I'm not gonna lie, the voice does kind of make him sound like Daffy Duck a lot of the time, but Don Rickles, like, is iconic as Potato Head, so what are you gonna do? I thought Greta Ritter, I don't know her name as well, was good as the voice of Lily Pad. I thought her voice fit the character well. Going back to Tim Allen as Buzz, while this storyline is a bit backseat in the story, I love the kind of different variations he does when he voices like the other like 50 Buzzes that we saw in the trailers, because many of them he makes them sound like they're slowly speaking, but they don't have a lot of words, but he puts effort into making them sound like, okay, they're coming out of their shell a bit and they're actually speaking full sentences. I love that, because you buy that a Buzz Lightyear like this could like have trouble speaking, and Tim performs them very well. I think the main thing about this film, however, that in my opinion makes it feel like a movie worth made for the Toy Story franchise, are the emotional story elements dealing with both Jessie and Bonnie. Starting off with Jessie. What I really loved about Jessie's character in this film is that you can really tell that she's feeling this immense pressure of trying to be there for Bonnie as much as she can, just like how Woody was in the past few films. But this new situation with the lily pad is kind of making her feel a bit reflective of her past kids that she's lost, like Andy and Emily. And speaking of that, I won't give away too much, but there's a specific element, including Emily and Jessie, that is a major emotional core of this film. And the many scenes that deal with that, it feels like a more family-friendly version, but it really reminds me a lot of Rocket's character arc from Guardians 3, about him reflecting on his past, like being brought up in the other films, but having to reface them again in the newest installment. That's what it feels like here with Jessie's character arc, and there is an emotional scene towards the end. I won't give it away, but it's definitely one of the most, like, probably not devastatingly heart-wrenching, but one of the most wholesomely, like, emotional scenes of any Toy Story film. And it's a major, like, reflection on why Jessie's character has been amazing for the past few movies, and I love that. The same thing I could say for Bonnie. Like, I felt like her story was very interesting as well, because this film does bring up some topics that, in my opinion, I was shocked when I first saw this in the cinema, that they went into these aspects with Bonnie's character about technology, but about how other kids handle the technology. And when we got to that emotional scene with her, where something shocking happens, it's devastating because it reflects real-life child experiences with being on their phones or their devices, communicating with other people. And my heart was like sorrowing for Bonnie's character in that scene. And any parent who watches it, any parent who like sees what Bonnie goes through, will probably know and be alert of, what if this happened to my own child? But we have to let them know that no matter what people expect or what the usual tradition is with like kids on their technology and stuff, you should never have to change anything about yourself in order to blend in with this crowd. That's an arc that Bonnie learns about being her true self, and not like trying to find friends just for the sake of finding friends, but finding the right friend. And that's something that we see like many elements when we meet this other character. And this other character I thought was amazing. This character was so much fun to watch, and honestly, with what they presented in the film, I'm kind of interested to see another Toy Story film if we get to see a more evolved version of this storyline. I loved it. Plus the film is chopped with like loads of Easter eggs. Many Pixar Easter eggs, many Toy Story Easter eggs, and some of them actually have connections to many of the short films that they presented. There's a Toy Story of Terror reference with Jessie. I won't give it away, but I thought like, oh, because I watched Toy Story of Terror and some of those short films with the main cast when I was binge watching through Toy Story last month, and I thought that just seeing that Easter egg, I was like, oh, I definitely felt lucky for watching that short film. I thought that that was a very interesting little reference there. I thought many of the other characters, while lacking in like traditional focus or importance to the story, were very fun to watch. Despite how I feel about the inclusion of Woody's character, I think Woody himself still has his likeable personality. I think that some of the new toys they introduce, while not that funny, do get their humorous moments, particularly Smarty Pants, played by Conan O'Brien, and I thought Conan performed the character very well. I mean, granted, the character does have a trait of having like these poop jokes now and again, and sometimes they can get a little stale.
Ooh, careful, careful.
Please do not misunderstand that reference. But I think many of the others can get pretty humorous, and I thought Conan's voice fit the design very, very well. And the last thing that I really loved about Toy Story 5 was the music. Many of the scores that they bring in from the other Toy Story films were presented very well. The emotional moments were fantastic. And there's a song called I Knew It, I Knew Ya by Taylor Swift that ever since I started listening to it before Toy Story 5 came out, I could not stop listening to it, because Taylor Swift said in an interview that this felt like a song made for two friends who haven't seen each other in a long time and have recently just gotten a reunion. As someone who has recently seen an old friend of mine, I think that the song was definitely well made. But it felt like Taylor also loved the character of Jessie, and she wrote this song specifically for her. And I just think the song was very well done. Of course, you can't find it as memorable as You've Got a Friend in Me. And in fact, yeah, it is kind of a shame that we didn't hear Randy Newman have a singing song in this movie. But I think that this song was definitely a well-deserved substitute for Randy Newman. But unfortunately, as much as I do have those elements to say that are really good and well made in a Toy Story film, I still have a few problems with this one that honestly are kind of carried on from Toy Story 4. The biggest thing that is still a problem is that this film does get a little bit disturbed by what they feel like they have to do, which is what they want to do. Is that it feels like they want to have a focus on Jessie's story in this movie, which I think Jessie's story was handled very well for the most part. But it feel like that just because this is a Toy Story film, they feel obliged to include the other characters too, like Woody, Buzz, and the rest of the toys. And in my opinion, you can feel like that this film could have been like what Toy Story 4 could have been. This could have just been a Jessie spin-off about her and Bullseye coming to this location and Jessie going on a self-discovery adventure. I felt like that would have made the film just as great as probably the original 3 movies. But because it's not just her story, the other characters get their moments where they just kind of feel sidelined and not really needed. It kind of disrupts the flow of the pacing and the story elements that's being presented, to the point where some of these past characters like Mr. Potato Head and Rex and Slinky once again are pushed to the side. And it's still a problem because what made the first 3 films great is that while it does focus a lot on Woody and Buzz, the characters as a group is what made the dynamics so intriguing, because they all came together through their adventures. And in the 3rd film, it definitely showed, because each one of them had a part to play in the escape from Sunnyside Daycare. And I love the fact that it was focusing on them as a group. So them being sidelined in these past 2 movies still kind of irritate me. And I felt like that you could handle these characters with much more care. And since we're talking about Woody and Buzz, let's talk about them. While I think that these characters are still good, and I could never hate their characters, I mean, these characters have been around since the beginning, I felt like their place in this story was a bit questionable and in some parts not even needed. I mean, Buzz's story is that he has his own character arc in this film, which I won't give away, but it carries on from what his story was in Toy Story 3. And I think that the way that they do it's good and deserving, and it leads to an amazing moment towards the end. But I felt like the way of getting there, with him like squaring off against Woody about who's the real deputy to Jessie, I felt like it was just kind of a reused take of, oh, we're having Woody and Buzz arguing, which I didn't feel like they really needed to. And this is something that the Black Critic guy brought up in his video about Toy Story 5, and after thinking it over, I was like, oh my god, he is right. This film seems to have a bit of like a prejudice against like technology toys, and them being criticised as not being real toys and maybe even useless. But here's where the plot hole comes in. Isn't Buzz, like, battery operated? Isn't he, like, the original tech toy in the first Toy Story? Like, the first tech toy to, like, have all the cool gizmos and buttons? So, shouldn't he be, like, count as a tech toy? So, and you're still, and he's criticizing these other tech toys as not being toys when he's tech? Couldn't he have been, like, the balance, the thing that, like, provides the balance of ragdoll toys and tech toys coming together? Couldn't he have been like the peacemaker and all that, because he's technically a tech toy? Yet the film doesn't seem to be addressing this. Like, I felt like that element didn't make any sense. Plus, I still feel like they kind of flanderized Buzz as a character, because in the fourth film they turned him into an idiot. They turned him into an idiot of, like, pressing his buttons and thinking that's his inner voice. I don't think he's as dumb in this movie as he was in Toy Story 4, but I felt like it did kind of make him look like kind of a goofball now and again, which is adorable, but also kind of takes away, like, the kind of determined yet socially awkward character that he was in the first three movies. But I felt like that, even though his character didn't have as much importance, I still felt like he did play a good enough part in the story. Woody, on the other hand, I'm not gonna lie, for a Toy Story film, and for Woody, who's like supposed to be the main character of Toy Story, like, you think of the words Toy Story, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Woody, because he's the main character. He came across as a surprisingly pointless character in this film. You can definitely feel like that the filmmakers were aware of this, because there was an original draft for Toy Story 5 that Woody was not in, and while it would have been hard to get adjusted to having a Toy Story film without Woody, I can see where they were coming from, because Woody's place in this film, honestly, he didn't really add anything that wouldn't be done by another character, because many of these moments between him and Buzz, when they're trying to get something accomplished, Woody didn't really add anything to increase the story there, as Buzz kind of makes the decisions now and again. So Woody's inclusion in the story just didn't really add anything, and honestly, the film could have worked with or without him, and I thought they brought him back for a very special and important reason. But by the end of the film, which is kind of just the same as the last one, it felt like not really. He didn't really have any important factors to play in this film. And I know it would have been impossible to have a Toy Story film, or at least get adjusted to a Toy Story film without Woody. But if they would have actually ended his story in Toy Story 4, or at least have him have a break and then this story happened, I felt like that the film still could have worked without him. And that's a shame that I have to say that about a Toy Story film, because I love Woody. He's a fantastic character. And despite the fact that he was pointless in this film, I didn't really have a problem with him as a character, other than, again, a kind of mistreatment about him having, like, being criticized for being old. With the way how bouncy he is, I didn't really see him as being old. It's just his bald head and apparently beer belly because he had his voice box ripped out. But I felt like the constant jokes they made about him kind of felt a little bit mean. Like, you didn't have to do that to Woody. Why are you doing these things to Woody? Why are you making him feel like the butt of every joke? So I feel like his character, as like personality wise, was still good, but I didn't feel like he needed to be in it. And that's how good Woody's character is. When I think that this is his weakest film, just because he doesn't do much, that shows how good of a character Woody is throughout this whole franchise. And as for our, I suppose, villain of the movie, Miss Lilypad here, I think she definitely is a good, like, example of, like, just supposed to be representing a clash between the toys and technology. But as a character herself, I didn't really think, I didn't really see any clear direction on what personality her character was supposed to be. Because many people brought this up, including Black Critic Guy, and I already knew about it, that this was being compared, but she was being compared to Anxiety from Inside Out 2. But the difference is that Anxiety kind of has, like, the mental capacity of not intending to, like, hurt or belittle the protagonists. She's just anxious. She has her own, like, feelings. Like, and anytime she makes a mistake, she thinks, okay, sorry, this might have to happen, or maybe not. I don't know, we have to see her. Bye. So, she's supposed to be the villain, but she's more of a unintentioned villain. Lilypad, on the other hand, there are moments where she kind of has, like, the maniacal laugh. And clear looks, looking down at the toys for, like, okay, you know, she needs someone that is from this century, so long toys, so it's just like, oh, well, okay, is she supposed to have a conscience? I don't buy it. She just seems like a very evil, like, TV villain, like, mohahaha. Then when we see some stuff about her later on, where we can see a bit of conscience, I was like, well, you are kind of acting, like, mean to the toys. It's not like Anxiety, where she was doing it unintentionally. Like, you intentionally belittled the toys on purpose, so, okay, I'm not gonna root for you then, so, what? So, I like the idea of Lily Pad. It's just that her presence in the story wasn't that memorable. And I will say that sometimes the humour of the movie can get in the way now and again. It's funny for a lot of the time, but it does kind of feel unfunny in many moments. And often when they try to incorporate humour from Smarty Pants and those devices into Jessie's storyline, when there's moments where Jessie has a moment of reflection, it was like, oh, there's some self-reflection on Jessie's end, and it's very interesting. And then he gets ruined by Smarty, like, giving his, like, smarmy remarks. And I was just like, can you not... Smarty, like, you're funny, but can you just shut up for, like, 5 seconds? I want to see Jessie's moments of reflection. I don't need you interrupting it with humour, especially toilet humour. And one last thing that I will admit I cannot give a free pass on, and it is, like, so bizarrely distracting. There is some obvious plot conveniences or moments of convenience with the toys just getting into their, like, deadpan faces whenever there's humans around. And I don't buy, now and again, that these toys can end up in locations where the humans find them, and you wouldn't think that humans would ask, okay, how did this toy get here? Like, there's a moment where Jessie is on one side of the fence, and Bonnie knows that she's on this side of the fence, but then she has to make a mission, so she's on the other side of the fence, and Bonnie doesn't question how she got into that side, which, nothing too badly. But then, like, other adults, like, you see, oh, there's a lot of toys on the side of the road. How did these toys get on the side of the road exactly? So, those moments of convenience did kind of add a little unrealisticness. And I get that this is an animated film, but the first 3 films had moments where you could buy that the toys managed to disguise themselves very convincingly. In this one, and even the last one, there are moments that are so inconvenient. It's surprising how these toys have not been revealed to be alive to humans through these moments of conveniences. Like, honestly, I feel like somebody should be able to catch on that, oh my god, holy crap, these toys are alive. So that was a little bit distracting from the writers. But overall, guys, despite the fact that there are problems with it that can't be overlooked, and I felt like that this really didn't need to be Toy Story 5, much like how Toy Story 4 didn't need to be Toy Story 4. In fact, in my opinion, if you would have just taken the story of Toy Story 5, put it in 4, and make Woody a main role, I personally would have been fine with it. Or Toy Story 4 could have just been Woody the movie, and this one could have been Jessie the movie, and that Toy Story 3 would have been the actual ending to the main Toy Story franchise, and that these spin-off ones are optional. But despite that, I enjoyed Toy Story 5. It had a lot of emotion. I really enjoyed Jessie's story. I liked the nostalgic callbacks to the past few films. And, oh, crap. Silly me. I forgot to mention there's one more problem I do have. I think that the multiple Buzz storyline, while I liked it, and I felt like it could have been just its own short film, and I like the fact that the Buzzers barely talk in these scenes, yet we feel some atmosphere from them and their moments of discovering what benefits they can bring to children. I thought it was amazing. In terms of their involvement in the main story, however, I really didn't feel like they needed to be in this movie. Or if they did, they could have had more involvement in the main plot. In fact, they could have just made like their moments of alone time its own separate short film to build up to their major involvement in Toy Story 5. I felt like that they didn't really need to be in the film, that's all. But overall, I thought the film was good. I thought it had many moments of things that I was very fond of from the past few films. I think the animation is solid, the voice acting is solid. Again, just hearing Tom Hanks and Tim Allen past these like 31 years and they're still voicing these characters, I mean, that is actor dedication at its finest. I loved hearing Tom Hanks as Woody. He always feels like he never misses a beat when he voices Woody. Taylor Swift's song was catchy, and overall, I enjoyed Toy Story 5. It's not as good as the first 3, but I liked it a bit more than Toy Story 4. So I'm going to give Toy Story 5 a 3.5 out of 5. It's a enjoyable film, and if you love Toy Story, I'd say give it a watch. And I think, like, after seeing multiple elements of this movie that were so fascinating, I'm interested to see what they're going to do in another Toy Story film. I feel like that this trilogy, while not as good as the original, is really like an example of showing the next generation of Toy Story films that can be presented for the new generation of children. And I think that's why, maybe that's why they're making more Toy Story films, so that they can see the second trilogy in the new generation of eyes and technology and modern stuff. And seeing these characters like jumping from these elements of time really shows their evolution as characters. So I'm interested to see what more they could do, and despite how I feel about Toy Story 4 or 5, like in terms of like their needs in this franchise, it's still a well-deserved franchise with a lot of nostalgia, and of course the original trilogy is still a well worth it trilogy to look back on. But anyway guys, what do you think of Toy Story 5? Do you love it? Do you hate it? What animated franchise is still going but has good elements from past installments? Because I know that Ice Age is still going, Despicable Me is still going, Shrek is making a comeback next year, which, looking forward to that. I love Shrek. But which is your favourite out of those franchises? Let me know in the comment section below. More videos to come, and I'm Daniel reviewing movies, TV shows, and doing videos. You stay away from me, you ducks. Till then, peace out, man.